I'm excited. This is my time of the year coming up. The offseason is close, and it's almost time for free agency. It's almost time for trades. It's almost time for the draft. And with all of the craziness that we kind of experienced at certain points in the playoffs this year, where people were thinking maybe Kawhi Leonard was going to be leaving, the Clippers. I think we've kind of let some of these guys go under the radar a little bit in this free agency class. There's no LeBron, there's no Anthony Davis, there's no Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, but there's a lot of really valuable players in this free agency class, and more importantly, really interesting players in this class that could do a ton of different things. There could be some sign and trades involved, and I just want to highlight and take a look at 6 really, really interesting free agents that I feel like there aren't enough conversations about heading into this offseason. So with that said, what's up, fellas? My name's Tucker. Let's talk about it. Okay, first up at number 1, these are in no particular order. These are just guys that I find interesting, right? Kyle Lowry. This is something that I get questions asked about a lot in the comments, live streams, things like that. What's Toronto going to do? They now have the 4th pick in the draft. What are they going to do with Kyle Lowry? Having literally no information on this whatsoever, obviously, here's my read on the situation in Toronto. There's obviously one of 2 ways they can go. They can re-sign Lowry, they can draft whoever with the 4th pick, they can run it back next year with a more complete, healthy roster, actually play games at home in Toronto, and be a playoff team. Championship level team? No, but a playoff team, right? However, kind of the vibe I'm getting is they're realizing they've got some interesting players, they've got some guys they can grow and develop, but it might make more sense to get value out of Lowry that fits a little bit more on the timeline of guys like this 4th pick in the draft upcoming, Van Vliet, Siakam, OG, rather than continue to bring back Kyle Lowry when he's 34, 35 years old, when he does have value, because I think he's a player that has certainly enough equity there in Toronto where they're going to kind of steer him towards a team that's going to be good for him, right? So this is where sign and trade stuff becomes really, really critical, and I think it's an interesting wrinkle in free agency over the last couple of seasons, off seasons that is, where you have an upcoming free agent that typically would just leave. You can get value out of that guy if you have open conversations. Say, hey, you're probably going to leave. That's cool. We want to put you in a situation where you're going to be successful. We want to put you with the Lakers. We want to put you with a contending team, Philadelphia, whatever the case may be. They don't have the money to sign you outright. We'll have conversations with them about a sign and trade where you get your money, we get assets back, and everybody wins. I think that's the situation we're going to see here with Kyle Lowry. I think they're going to move on from him, but I think they're going to get value and assets out of him, and that situation is really, really interesting. It's one of the reasons I think they ended up not moving him at the deadline when they certainly could have, because they recognize that that value would still be there because they have a good relationship with Lowry and they want to send him to a place where he's going to be successful and he can still get his money. So he could potentially go to Philly, to the Lakers, to any number of different teams. And that situation specifically in terms of what number he gets at his age, as well as the value Toronto potentially gets back, is really, really intriguing and interesting to me. Next up is one that I honestly completely forgot about. I don't think you can really blame me, is Victor Oladipo. The assumption at this point is that Miami's going to re-sign him, right? Because I don't know who else would really want him or is all that excited given the injury stuff. He obviously wanted to be in Miami. Miami wouldn't have made the move if they didn't feel confident about the ability to re-sign him. But what is Victor Oladipo getting in free agency? Because Miami has cap space. They can go out and spend it on other guys. And the only scenario in which I think Oladipo doesn't return to Miami would be if they go to him and yeah, we don't really want you. You know what I mean? So it's a very strange circumstance where I think Oladipo wants to be there, but if Miami doesn't want to pay him, then he's going to be looking for a team that could potentially get a really low value contract as a result. Here's what I would expect to happen with Oladipo. He wants to come back to Miami. Miami's like, okay, cool, that works for us. He's probably signing a 1-year deal, 1 year 10, 1 year 15, push it to 20 if you want to, but I would hesitate to do that. And he's going to try and re-enter free agency in 2022 after a fully healthy season ready to go at some point down the road. But it's just really, really strange because 2 years ago, Oladipo was a near max level free agent potentially. And now we're looking at him as getting a 1-year deal just to kind of try and rehab his value in Miami and become a free agent in 2022. But another guy to keep an eye on. Next up, Spencer Dinwiddie. Just declined his player option a handful of days ago in Brooklyn. Again, I get lots of questions about this as well. What are the Nets going to do with him? Where is he going to go? Here's my read on the situation with Dinwiddie. I think the Nets, in a similar way to Lowry, could explore a sign and trade possibility for Dinwiddie, where they get value out of him, he ends up leaving, and it helps their roster because that's a guy that just literally didn't play for the majority of the season. Spencer Dinwiddie's a good player. He can score. He can be a perimeter creator. The problem is, the value he provides to a team is not going to be showcased very well in Brooklyn. So in terms of him returning to the Nets, I think it's unlikely just because he knows if he re-signs there, whenever that contract runs out, he's not really going to have showcased his skill set in a way that he could elsewhere, which is going to limit his value and his ability to capitalize financially. So it doesn't really make sense for him to return to Brooklyn if his statistics are going to suffer to the point where it's going to really cost him money. So I think he's going to go somewhere else, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen in a sign and trade to a good team. Again, similar to the Lowry situation. I mean, that's personally what I'm hoping, is either he comes back because he's a good player or because he goes somewhere else in a sign and trade. But again, someone that isn't really getting a lot of buzz, but I think is a really valuable player and has shown an ability to be a nice little combo guard and scoring guard for a team that needs offense. So keep an eye on Dinwiddie, potentially what he could do either in free agency or in a sign and trade. Next up, DeMar DeRozan. Remember when we were talking about the Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan contracts a handful of years ago? Like, they were just absolutely awful, and now both these guys are free. And all of a sudden, it's crazy how quickly things work in free agency over the years. DeMar is a player that if you want to tell me he gets a $8 million, $10 million a year deal, cool. If you want to tell me he gets $20 million a year, that I would believe that too. You know what I mean? Like, his value is so odd to me, because he did grow and develop in San Antonio, became a better playmaker, never developed a three-point shot, went entirely towards the mid-range stuff, but DeMar DeRozan's a good player. And I don't know how motivated San Antonio is to bring him back, but someone, a team that needs scoring, a team that needs creation, a team that needs playmaking, like potentially Dallas, could definitely target DeMar DeRozan. And if there's a couple of teams in a bidding war, that number could definitely creep up towards 20 or even over $20 million a year. Now, the problem is, if he doesn't learn how to shoot, then he's kind of got to be the guy with the basketball in his hands. And if you're going to somewhere like Dallas where Luka already exists, that could be a problem, right? So it's got to be a special situation. It's got to be a situation where everybody's on the same page about what DeMar DeRozan's role would be, so that we don't run into like an Evan Turner type situation in Portland a handful of years ago where he shows up, he can't shoot, he's got to get the ball and be like the weird six-man guy, takes the ball away from Dame and CJ, and it just does not work, right? That would be my fear if I was bringing in DeMar DeRozan, is the fact that he has to have the basketball because of his inability to shoot from the outside and his, kind of prevalence is like a mid-range isolation score, right? So the fit will be interesting, but again, his limited skill set in terms of his ability to shoot could deflate his value down underneath $10 million a year, or his value as a scorer and his growth as a playmaker could push it up towards 20. I have no idea, but I'm interested to find out. Then the last two are really, really interesting semi-buyout candidates, right? So like Nick Batum makes a ton of money in Charlotte, and over the last couple of seasons has barely even played, right? Goes to LA this year and has been awesome for them. Just does everything. A utility guy, passes, scores, drives, defends, brings great size, has been really, really good. And he was like a borderline buyout guy. Like, it was just a minimum contract that the Clippers signed. And then Blake is another one. Blake Griffin got bought out and might get paid $10, $15, $20 million a year this offseason. If you tell me that happens, I wouldn't be shocked. I have no idea what his true value is. But if you tell me that's how it went down, I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. So how do you value guys that were, I'm just going to call them buyout guys because they're basically buyout players over the last, season and a half. How do you value what they now are in free agency after Blake was really good in the postseason? Batum's been good all year long for the Clippers. Are we looking at Nick Batum getting $10 million a year from the Clippers to re-sign? Are we looking at Blake Griffin going somewhere else and getting 10 to 15 to be an attraction and to be someone that can put up great stats and, bring excitement to a fan base? He's still just, 32, 33? It's not like he's 38 years old. Those situations are incredibly strange and rare when it comes to free agency buyout guys. And you could even throw Andre Drummond on the list here, even though he's not technically on the list. Another buyout player. We're getting way crazier now, or at least we did this season, about what does and doesn't qualify as a buyout player, where now it's like guys that are former All-Stars and are, 31, 32 are getting bought out, and they have a chance at getting real legitimate contracts in the following season. And how teams play that and how they understand the value of a guy that was a buyout player and is now suddenly a valuable free agent potentially is going to be really interesting. It's never something that we've really seen before. Typically, a guy gets bought out, and that kind of locks him in to being like a minimum contract, maybe a little bit above the minimum mid-level exception level guy over the next, over the following handful of seasons. But that might not be the case with guys like Batum, Griffin, and then, as I said, Andre Drummond. So keep an eye on all 6 of these free agents. They're going to be in a handful of really interesting situations. I think the sign and trade possibility that was opened up by the Jimmy Butler move to Miami a handful of years ago has really opened up the possibility mentally of really interesting situations when you have a good relationship with a free agent, or a guy is just really motivated to go somewhere where they're going to be successful from a team standpoint. The sign and trade can be a really powerful tool for teams to get value out of a free agent when they leave, when they typically wouldn't. Let me know down in the comment section below if there are any other free agents you guys are really keeping an eye on this offseason that you think could be in some very interesting situations. With those things said, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like rating on it. Check out more videos from me, the box on screen, and subscribe for new NBA content every single day. As I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.